Hello everyone, and like I promised, in the end of June is that I'll be reviewing each of the Dark Knight trilogy, of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and at the end of June, I made my review of Batman Begins, and today I'm giving you a fairly late, but it's still within the end of July, review of the Dark Knight. And then the end of August, I'll give you my review of The Dark Knight Rises. But until then, of this video's title, of course, it is a part of my favorite movies of all time videos, and of course it's of The Dark Knight, which is probably my favorite of the three, mainly because, well, I'm not gonna talk about that. Let's talk about the story. And in this movie, you essentially have Batman continuing from Batman Begins, and essentially he's going back into the city to essentially fight back against the Joker, who's just raging anarchy and chaos and craziness and all the way through of Gotham. And Batman, of course, is there to stop him. You know, first things first, I've always considered Joker my favorite Batman villain. I've read a lot of Batman comics, but for me, it's always like the Frank Miller and the one with the Joker or Frank Miller assembled. To me, is the best one, or the best ones. And the scene that like it's not 100% logical, but it takes, bits and pieces from the comics into this movie. I think it's really, really well done. And the way it starts with the bank robbing scene with all the faces, it's just so cool, and I just love it. And you just see like such a huge ensemble cast, and you see William Fichtner's character, and he's just like, "What are you doing this for?" essentially. And like it's like when the mask has a hand grenade, well, not hand grenade, but he puts a smoke bomb in his mouth. It's just like, what doesn't kill you makes you stranger. And I'm like, that is one hell of a way to start a movie. Just keep it completely suspenseful and just release the #1 villain within a few minutes. Now, you may think that's a bad move, but think of how great Heath Ledger is. It adds in the ball, and it really is extraordinary. And everyone in this movie does a great job. Christian Bale as Batman, Michael Caine as Alfred Pennyworth, Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face, you have Gary Oldman as James Gordon. You have Christian Bale as Batman. Michael Caine as Pennyworth. You have a replacement actor of Rachel Dawes as Mary. In this movie, she's played by Maggie Gyllenhaal. You have Lucius Fox, played by Morgan Freeman. You have Two-Face, played by Aaron Eckhart. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, because I'm just reading off the internet right here. Not a professional. But you also have like some signed cameos from Anthony Michael Hall, Eric Roberts, and in the beginning, from the first movie of Batman Begins, you see Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow, although his character is short-lived in this movie. And you also have, like I said at the beginning, you get to see William Fichtner, but very, very early on. And yeah, that's just a cast. But of course, the big person who stands out in this movie, as always, we all know who it today is, and it is the Joker. And the Joker is one of the greatest villains of all time, played brilliantly by Heath Ledger. Now, I love the Joker. Cesar Romero's from the 60s version is really good. Jack Nicholson's version is great from Batman, but this is the most definitive version of the Joker in my mind. It really sells it so much outwards, and I think it's so great because of that. It shows such a great balance out with Batman's more of a commitment of the law, and then Joker's own ideal of anarchy perfectly complement each other. Like, literally, two perfect opposites that really do complement each other. And not only the script, but also the dialogue and so many things this movie just seems so real and genuine. It seems like it's a much more of a political thriller that really puts questions and puts morality and a lot of certain things on Batman's shoulders, and you get to see it, how it weighs down on him and makes him feel as a human being. It really is a fascinating look at his character, and you really get to see him grow. Really do get fleshed out a lot, and I love that because of that. It really just feels like they're really, granted they're not being that faithful, but they feel like they're creating their own certain single version of Batman. Like they're saying, this is a comic book version of Batman. This is our own certain little vision, and that's perfectly fine. If a filmmaker goes out and says, I want to create my own version of a superhero who really exists, fine, go at it. That's whatever. That's my own thoughts on that. But it puts such a clever view on Batman of who he is as a character and the limits he can go to, because he says he doesn't kill people, but there's all moments where he wants to kill someone and he doesn't, and yet there's moments when he does not want to kill a person but he accidentally does, like Two-Face in the end. And it's a really powerful feeling you get from Batman. There's a sense of when you want to do a right and a wrong, but there's certain times where it's just out of his limits. Like the scene when Rachel Dawson gets killed, that's not his fault. That's just the policeman's fault for not getting her as fast as he should have. Well, that's because the police went to Aaron Eckhart's character. He's like, no, why does it have to be me? Why do I have to survive? And it's like, damn, that her death is actually very impactful. Although I will say she's just not that memorable in the movie, admittedly. But I just love that. And the way it's shot, and the way it's felt, and the way it's shot particularly, the way the cinematography wise by Christopher Nolan is exceptional. It really is. And just wow, the cinematography. The movie is a visual masterpiece. And the way they shot Chicago looks gorgeous, and there's a long moments where it clearly does show that they shot it in IMAX. And I really gotta say those moments really are fantastic. They have such a crisp, such a very clear, and such a wide view cut shot of it that I really love. Granted, it won't translate that greatly to just regular television if you're watching this on DVD on your Xbox or DVD or something, or PlayStation. But nevertheless, it translates, you hope it translates well, and it does. Not just from a screenwriting point of view, but from a dialogue and a character point of view, it's so challenging, and seriously does answer such a brilliant question within Batman of what he can and cannot do, especially when he's pressed up against the wall, and the Joker, and all this type of stuff in this movie. As it goes down, it's really powerful, and I love the way it's shot, and the action alone is definitely, this is one of the best action movies of the decade, and it really is. It's one of the best action movies of the decade, it's one of the best comic book movies of the decade, it's probably just one of the best movies of the 2000s, it really is. Maybe in a long time, from 2000 to, you understand my point by now. But in the very end, The Dark Knight is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. And you may ask, is there anything I don't like? Well, there's a couple moments where I'm just like, you do have to suspend your disbelief. There's a couple moments where I'm like, wait a minute, how did that get there, to there, and there, to there? You're just like, wait, how did that go? What? How did he know he was going that way? And what happened if he didn't? It's like, whatever, movie science. And the other thing I don't like is Batman's night vision. When he puts it on, you get see like this all blurry, like zoom, zoom, type of feeling like that. And not only I think it takes two big problems with that. Is number one, it takes away from the mythos, because there's a sense of secrecy when Batman does that. It's like, oh my god, how did Batman get from there to there? There's a sense that he knows the night, and showing that ruins it, in my opinion. That truly takes away from the mythology of the character. And the other problem I have with this, and not only that, but I think it's kind of seizure-inducing. The way it's edited and shot of that is really terrible. I gotta say, this is just terrible. But the number one problem with this movie, and I think anyone can admit this, and even the biggest of fans do make fun of it, is Batman's voice. And yes, everyone on the internet has made fun of it. And I'm going to visit the city needs a hero. And I'm just like, I understand your superhero voice has to be different from your normal day voice, but why does it have to sound so clunky? And it sounds like he has lung cancer. And I know it's something not to laugh at, but it really does, and it's just ridiculous. And I can't buy that for a complete second. And it really takes me out of the element whenever Batman just speaks. It's like, it's not the thing that strikes heart or fear into the enemies. It's like if this Batman caught me and all the stuff he talks to me, I'd be like, why do you sound like that? It's like, I don't know. I'm like, it's just terrible. I'm sorry. I meant laugh. But those are my problems. The Batman's night vision, Batman's voice, and there's a few moments where you do have to kind of suspend your disbelief. And what the slight criticism here is that I do think near the end, the film just goes on and on and on with such a big with this big build-up climactic action scene that it kind of seems a bit overwhelming, I will say. But in the end, The Dark Knight is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I feel very pleased and honored to represent this as one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. Like top 5 or 3, at least for me. I will not reveal about my other ones because I'm thinking of doing those in the future. Maybe, I don't know for sure. Thankfully I have my Joker shirt on, but in the end, The Dark Knight is truly one of my favorites of all time. Yes, I have 3 or 4 problems with it, and I do think at those points when I'm talking about the problems, I do think in the very end I am just nitpicking, but in the end, The Dark Knight is one of the best comic book movies of all time. It is one of the best movies of all time, and in my mind, The Dark Knight gets a 94%. Yes, it has a fair bit of problems, but I'm going to say the good in this movie, the acting, the story, the plot, the ideal, so many things in this movie, just completely overwhelmed about this. The not so good things in this movie, and there is problems in this movie. But in the very end, The Dark Knight is one of the best of all time, and I'm very, very proud to give you my review and my thoughts on the movie, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. And in the end, The Dark Knight truly lives up to its own scale of what it is. An epic comic book movie. And in the end, we can praise it no other way. In the end, everyone, thank you for watching as always. Until then, and I'll see you in the future for more videos. And of course, take care. Goodbye, everyone.